This is Keep On Cooking, a podcast for people who love cookbooks and want to know more about the authors. It's also a great place to get a weekly dose of culinary inspiration to keep things pumping in the kitchen. So grab a cookbook and keep on cooking. I'm Dustin Harder, and this is Keep On Cooking. Hello and welcome to Keep On Cooking, the only podcast dedicated to plant-based cookbooks. I'm your host, Dustin Harder, and he's like a fruitcake. Unexpected, a little nutty, but here to leave an impression. It's my husband, back by popular demand, David Rossetti. How you doing?
Oh my gosh. I'm fruitcake?
Yeah.
Unexpected.
And
I
you're
guess it's unexpected.
popular.
Have you ever had fruitcake?
No, and every Christmas I go kind of down like a little, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna make because I remember I remember seeing them.
I remember seeing them, sure.
My Aunt Char had them. I just remember seeing them in her house. I don't know if she made them. I remember people gave them as gifts, like in tins, right?
Yes.
Well, I think that is the thing. I think they're dense and people don't like them, but I'm kind of like, let's bring it back. Let's like bring a vegan variation back.
But make it delicious.
But make it delicious. I mean, I don't know, kind of, or make it whatever it's supposed to be. Denseness. I mean, isn't it just like fruit and nuts and like a little bit of flour?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that like the Jello molds, like where we just kind of threw a bunch of stuff and tried to like make it interesting in like the 80s.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll have to find out when fruitcake was made.
Oh, but that's a good one for things we don't know. Though I'm gonna sound like the Grinch, but I'm over talking about Christmas.
I know. I'm surprised you can put fruitcake in
because
here.
y'all, we did, as you know by listening to the previous episodes, we did it up. So moving on now, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! Happy 2025!
Yes. But I mean, how were the holidays? Holidays were great. Listen,
Holidays were
everybody, if you listen to all the episodes in December, we did all the things we said we were gonna do. We did the games. We did our stockings. We did the chocolate peppermint cake, and it was so good. We did not one but two festive cheesy spinach breads. Like we did all the things. So
I made 5 different kinds of cookies over 2 days.
You did, and they were so delicious.
Yeah, and there were a few new ones that I think will stay. The almond amaretti was a little disappointing.
I was gonna say, I don't even think I had those
because I wasn't very happy with it. So.
David was baking here while I was in Michigan, and I did I gotta have sugar cookies at Christmas, and nobody ever makes them vegan, and I gotta have them. So those are I did that one cookie this year, and you did those 5 other ones. Yep. You did the Sunday cookie, the beloved Cheryl's Sunday cookie, and you brought those for me. That was really yummy.
I did the thumbprints, which turned out really good.
So good. I ate like 5,000 of them.
A couple little experiments just to keep them from like cracking a little bit. I think it worked out in my favor. What else? I did a chocolate peppermint cookie that was actually gluten-free and made it nut-free using soy milk. So there were a couple friends that had allergies, so we figured it out.
Yeah, we did. You know? And now we're just trying to get you ready because David's got a knee surgery coming up.
Going under the knife. Yeah. Yes.
ACL. What happened?
ACL, complete tear, and then meniscus is either going to be a repair if it's a new tear, or if it's not, they're just like, I always laugh at this. They're just gonna like toss it out. And good luck to you.
Well, that's coming up, y'all. Everyone, please keep good thoughts for David as we navigate this in the coming week.
I'm not nervous about the surgery. It's just a long recovery time. It's like 9 months before I'm kind of like fully physically able to like do what I do again. So.
But you're gonna do it. You're gonna be amazing, and I got you. I got you. Yeah. Well, we are here today to chat about a New York Times bestseller that just came out in late summer last year, Peaceful Kitchen, more than 100 cozy plant-based recipes to comfort the body and nourish the soul, by registered dietitian and all-around sweetheart, Catherine Perez. I'm very excited to share this interview with you because I absolutely love this book and enjoyed chatting with Catherine. But before we dive in, what is on the horizon? What are a couple new books we have to look forward to in 2025?
Well, one of the cookbooks that I tend to gravitate towards on our bookshelf is Sweet Potato Soul by Janae Claiborne. And I'm so excited because she has a new book coming out February 4th. The book is called Vegan Vibes. In Vegan Vibes, Janae invites you to fall in love with the cooking and eating plants in their delicious diversity. After stints in New York City and Los Angeles, she's returned to her hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, where she is freshly inspired in her kitchen by the city's multicultural influences. So she's got a collard green soup mellowed by miso, sweet potatoes crisped in the air fryer and heated with jerk seasoning, and corn ribs kissed by Korean gochujang sauce.
Oh, that's gonna be
that
your new
sounds
favorite. I know it.
that
You
sounds
love those crab cakes from the first book, and I know
I
you're gonna be all
do.
over these
Yes.
corn ribs. That sounds
Those,
so good.
because it was hard to find a good crab cake recipe, and she delivered. I remember that for sure. That's going to be delicious. But Vegan Vibes offers 100 dishes that are almost as much fun to make as they are to eat. That means laid back whole food, plant based ingredient lists, plus straightforward, no fail techniques. It's brimming with unexpected, flavorful dishes. Vegan Vibes is the cookbook that will inspire everyone, vegan and not, to crave more plants.
Oh, that is exciting. Hopefully, she will
Mhm.
come back on to talk about the new book. If you all want to hear from Janae talking about her first book titled Sweet Potato Soul, you can check out episode 35 of Keep On Cooking for that, where she is a lovely guest. Also on the horizon is The Cycling Chef, plant-powered performance vegan recipes to fuel your ride, by Michelin-starred chef and leading sports nutritionist Alan Murchison. Alan knows all about the rise of veganism among cyclists. Cycling and food are the twin passions of his life, and he believes that food should be both for pleasure and for performance. Therefore, Alan has created a range of delicious recipes to give plant-powered cyclists or riders who want to reduce their meat intake the best possible preparation. A plant-based diet should not diminish performance and can even improve it with the right balance of nutrients, vitamins, carbs, and protein. From energizing breakfast to recovering boosting main meals, each recipe is protein-packed and crafted to keep you fueled for every mile. Recipes included look like double espresso granola, real deal red lentil lasagna, blueberry blondie bars, and cashew tiramisu. Now, this book will come out April 15th. Of course, both of these books are available for pre-order right now, my babies. And David, what is something we don't know?
Well, you just mentioned the last author is a Michelin star chef. So I thought it would be interesting to learn more about that coveted Michelin star. Because we all hear it, but like, what is
Yeah,
it?
tell
What's
me
one star?
more.
So
What is it?
what is it? The Michelin star system was created in 1926 as a way to highlight exceptional restaurants. Initially, it was awarded a single star to establishments offering excellent cuisine. So it was just one star, which is interesting that would you just get a star.
Well, I mean, I guess
like if you have nothing to really
it's like a
compare
stamp
it
of
to,
approval, then
correct,
essentially. Yeah.
but that's interesting. But in 1931, the system expanded to the now familiar 3-star rating. So 1 star was a very good restaurant in its category. 2 stars was excellent cooking, worth the detour. Notice how they have kind of like a travel theme. 3 stars, exceptional cuisine, worth a special journey, which I love that. The Michelin Guide itself dates back to 1900, originally designed to encourage motorists to travel and use more tires by providing maps, travel tips, and restaurant recommendations. How interesting.
So it's connected to Michelin.
Michelin.
I don't know why I always thought they were different. But now this makes sense.
No.
This makes total sense.
But how strange, I mean, how strange that
Yeah, yeah.
and it is lauded. I mean, people are here like, we went to a 3 Michelin star. It's like a huge deal.
Also, I don't know why I thought there were 5 stars. I guess I just always think 1 out of 5 anything.
Yeah,
I mean, this shows you, listen, y'all, I don't get into the nitty-gritty pretentiousness of any voting scale of anything. Like, and I had those clients in Atlanta that I had for that one summer said they did like a Michelin star tour. Like, I mean, bless. You got that money, honey. But they were like, yeah, one summer we just decided to go to like every Michelin star restaurant around the world that we could. And she was like, she straight up was like, we weren't impressed. Which is why, like, I mean, not because she said that, but like in general, like, sure, like if it says it has 3 stars, I'm going to be like, oh, that's impressive. I wonder what they have to offer. But I also don't like go, oh my gosh, I have to have it because it has 3 Michelin stars. But also what's interesting is 1 star equals a very good restaurant in its category. So that is still very much like a stamp of approval. You could potentially
it's a big
never
thing to just get 1 star.
Yeah. So I didn't realize that either. So that's very interesting. Thank you for that information.
Of course. I am very interested. The one that I mean, isn't 11 Park Madison in New York is a 3 star. I think it's the only vegan Michelin
Yeah,
three
he
star.
just you weren't on when I talked about this, but first of all, round of applause. David Rossetti is back, y'all. Round of applause. I'm clapping my hands. I'm doing
Thank you
little
so much.
golf claps here because my love was gone for a lot of the holidays working on his show and double job. So I'm very happy that you're here right now.
Thank you.
But that I talked about that. He had, I don't know if I told you about this. He had like a 3 cookbook set come out that was a limited edition, only 11,000 copies, and it was like $250.
Yikes.
And it was like one book was the recipes, the other book was like drawings, I think, and the other book was like behind the scenes of like developing those recipes. I don't know.
For the plant-based like
Yeah,
medicine? Huh.
yeah. And again, I guess I don't know. I don't like get into it. I don't like put too much weight on it,
Right.
but perhaps I should. Maybe I got to rethink that a little bit. Okay. Well, now it's time, my friends, to shift our focus over to Peaceful Kitchen, more than 100 cozy plant-based recipes to comfort the body and nourish the soul by a registered dietitian, Catherine Perez. In her first cookbook, Catherine Perez, a food creator, guides you through a delightful exploration of mouthwatering plant-based recipes, proving serenity can be found in a well-balanced, wholesome meal. I love that so much. Whether you are considering a plant-based diet, lead a dedicated vegan lifestyle, or just want some new ways to season and enjoy veggies, Peaceful Kitchen is for you.
Catherine Perez is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and plant-based recipe developer behind the popular social media account Plant-Based RD across Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest.
Catherine has a passion for infusing flavor and nutrition into balanced meals that aim to make you feel your best. Using everything she has learned throughout her dietetic career, Catherine aims to help others find peace in the kitchen and shows you how to transform evidence-based nutrition information into delicious, nourishing meals. So wherever you are on your journey, Catherine is here to support you one step at a time and to help you eat more plants and actually like them. Here she is to tell us all about this fabulous New York Times bestseller. It's Catherine Perez. With a goal to help others find peace in the kitchen and show us how to transform evidence based nutrition information into delicious, nourishing meals, it's the plant based RD herself. Please welcome to the Keep On Cooking podcast, Catherine Perez. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Dustin. It's so good to meet you again. And
Yes, yes.
really excited to have our chat today.
Great to meet you again as well. For listeners, we met in person so quickly in passing at the International Conference on Nutrition and Medicine this past summer. Really, it was like a quick hug, a quick hello. She was off doing her thing. I was off doing mine. But now here we are, and we're going to start things off with your icebreaker question here. So, what's one thing you would like to see happen in your life in 2025?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to kind of like exploring more in 2025, because I always try to give myself some type of like learning thing to do. And I feel like I've gotten really good with short form video. And I feel like this coming year, I want to get more acquainted with long form video because I feel like it's a whole different beast. So I'm studying up, trying to kind of like get my ducks in a row so that way I can move into that space and hopefully help even more people in this coming year.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that goal because it's always like different things resonate with different people. So you're always trying to find like different ways to expand and be able to get the information out there. So that's great. I love that goal.
Thank you. Hopefully it works out. Keeping fingers crossed.
Yes, right, right. Well, take it day by day. Take it day by day. My thing that I would like to see happen for myself in 2025 is that I want to get re-inspired by food. I've been in the food space now for about 10 years. And I've kind of like made all the things like creatively I'm just feeling like my well is a little dry. So I'm hoping
Mm,
to get a little refresh there. I'm sure you felt that from time to time with food. It's like, how many different ways can you spin tofu and all that stuff like that, right?
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I feel like there's kind of like a great expanse in terms of the food space, but I feel like sometimes when you've done something enough times, it can kind of feel like very redundant.
Yeah.
And, hopefully branching out into like other areas will help kind of respark, I think.
Yes, yes. And I'm also like, I'm starting to just kind of say, notice some things as they come my way to just like leave space a little bit in my
Yeah.
brain to like let things, simmer as it is. Well, Catherine is here to chat all about her New York Times best-selling cookbook, Peaceful Kitchen. More
Thank
than
you.
100 cozy plant-based recipes to comfort the body and nourish the soul. Now, you may know her as the plant-based RD on social media. She is indeed a plant-based enthusiast here to inspire you guys to eat more plants. Catherine, how did you get invested in cooking, and when did it all go vegan for you?
Yeah, so I guess just as like a mini preface, I was a terrible cook in the beginning. Like I was known for kind of burning everything, and the running joke was always that, you could leave it up to me to burn water. So
I love
like
it.
yeah, it was not a really great start, but
I just
um
want to say that I have burnt water before. So, when you like leave the pot with a little bit of
yeah.
water. I was sitting with my husband in our office maybe a week ago and I was like, "David, what is that smell?" And he was like, "I don't know." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'll be right back." And like sure enough, I had let that water simmer all the way down. But anyways, I didn't mean to
Yep.
interrupt. Continue.
No, no. I totally commiserate because I've done that way too many times. Um, and it's one of those things where growing up, I always felt like, oh, I never really needed to learn to cook because like my mom always made meals. I was kind of under the impression like when I got married that like my partner would just do all the cooking for me. And luckily he does, but at the same time, like I started to grow my inspiration for food when I actually made the decision to go vegan. And the reason I had to kind of like learn how to cook for myself is because my mother, she's Dominican. And when I told her, yeah, I'm going vegan, she's like, what does that mean? Like, I
Uh-huh.
don't know what that
Uh-huh.
is. I don't
And
cook
now
vegan.
what?
Yeah, and so she was like, "You're on your own, kid." And I was like, "Okay, we'll figure this out." So it was touch and go in the beginning, but I feel like I found some really good core like recipes in the beginning, and I started cooking that. I was watching different shows, on TV and getting inspiration from there. And eventually I kind of like built a solid of enough like base for me to at least feed myself. So like
Mhm. Yeah.
we got that done. And then eventually, when I had made the transition, a lot of the reasons why I had made the transition was because, I was really concerned about like my family's health. And I wanted, especially based off of everything I had learned, I wanted to prevent myself from getting a bunch of the chronic diseases that were happening within like my family. And so I decided to go fully plant-based. Um, and when I made that transition, I really loved everything I was learning about nutrition. And that kind of led me down the path of becoming a dietitian. And so eventually, like the two kind of just like married together, where it's like I was learning a lot about like the cooking aspect. And then I was able to apply that to the things I was learning nutrition wise. And so it made it easier, especially when I was like getting to that spot of counseling people to explain
Mhm.
to them, okay, like, even if you don't have like a very solid cooking base, like you can do these simple things and,
Yeah.
you can get a lot more fiber in this way. You can eat more plants this way. And it just kind of continued escalating from there. Like it was doing the counseling and explaining different recipes and then eventually sharing those recipes online. So,
I love that. And I feel like, you have such a large following on social media. And talking to you now and hearing you say all that, it must be one of the reasons is because you have such a genuine way to connect with everyone. It's like, I have burnt the water and now I'm also cooking things. So, like, we can all do this. Like, we're going to do it as a family. Come on together. I got you. Like, that must be one of the things that resonates for your followers is just like the genuine approach that you have towards it with your history in cooking.
yes, I feel like, especially because when I had started doing social media, I felt like I had all the basics. And I felt from there, you kind of build from those basics. And,
Mhm.
hopefully having that audience that you start with and like growing along with that audience, they can kind of see that journey and see, like, hey, you know, I started from here and like now we're here, but like it's not that hard to get to that spot. It's more of just
Mhm.
like tweaking little things. And even for like basic things when it comes to recipes, sometimes it's like adding a single ingredient or a little spot of freshness, in different areas can really kind of help change and elevate a dish without you really thinking about it too much.
Yeah, for sure. Once you get those fundamentals in your tool belt and everything, there's so many options, so many things you can do.
Exactly.
Well, I always ask my first time guest authors do you recall what your first vegan cookbook was that you owned, or one that you cooked from the most when you first went vegan? Is there something you owned, a book?
Yes, Veganomicon. Yes,
Yeah,
I feel like that was kind of like my cooking Bible when I
I
was
love it. That's
just starting
great.
out. It was great too because in that cookbook there's like a lot of Latin recipes, and so
Yeah.
it was like I was able to like cook a lot of things that are very familiar to me, which was just very, very wonderful.
That's great. We just had Terry and Isa on the
Ah, that's
podcast to chat
awesome.
about that book because so many authors have said, "Oh, that was my first vegan cookbook." And I think someone gifted it to me right around when I first went vegan too. So I think that is a big first book for a lot of people, but it was so cool to have them both on to sort of chat about the history of the book and everything. So
Yes.
everybody, if you want to get into Veganomicon, you can
I
hear
know.
Isa and Terry talk about it. I think it's episode 111. Now, before we journey into Peaceful Kitchen, more than 100 cozy plant based recipes to comfort the body and nourish the soul, I have to say to you first, my dear, congratulations on being a New York Times bestseller. How does it feel?
Uh, it's um it's surreal. Like when I got the notification for it, I was not expecting it at all. I was just kind of like riding on the vibes of just, people were telling me they would enjoy the recipes and
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of compare yourself to like other people and you're just like, oh, I'm just like compared to everyone else, it's like I'm just so small and like, you know, I wasn't sure if people were like enough people were going to purchase the book and so I was like, we'll just see what happens.
Hmm.
And when I got the notification, I felt like I was in the twilight zone or something. I was like, "Oh my god, like I can't believe that this actually happened." And sometimes even like when people bring it up, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I guess I
Like,
am
oh
a
yeah,
New York Times bestseller."
that's the thing. I did that. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Oh, it's so cool. Well, congratulations on it. Such a wonderful accomplishment. It has to feel so good. And we're going to get into it. Peaceful Kitchen, more than 100 cozy plant based recipes to comfort the body and nourish the soul, starts off with an introduction touching on nutrition basics, equipment, grocery essentials, and your food philosophy. So please share with our listeners, what is your food philosophy?
Yeah, so when it comes to the whole idea of the cookbook, like I wanted to create like a space where everyone felt comfortable to cook, which is kind of like the whole mindset behind like the whole title, Peaceful Kitchen. I wanted people to feel welcomed in the kitchen. I wanted people to be able to feel comfortable exploring different flavors and, trying some new techniques to hopefully like make them excited about eating plants because I feel like sometimes when it comes to nutrition, you have so many people yelling at you about like what you need to be doing, like, you should be eating this or eating that. And, really the idea here is, if I can encourage you to add more plants to your plate, then I
Hmm.
feel successful. So, if
Right.
you're adding at least one more plant-based meal to your week, if you, start eating more regularly plant-based, wherever you're starting from, there's always an opportunity to kind of like add more of those nutrients that can help make you feel your best. So this book was created primarily to kind of explore that idea
Hmm.
and to, welcome people into the kitchen and, hopefully get them away from burning water and
Yeah. Yeah.
building, nourishing, nutrient dense meals that make them feel their best.
I love it. You and I vibe together on this completely. My whole thing is I'm like, listen, wherever you're at, if you can just get, if it's one plant-based meal a week that you're putting into whatever your rotation is, that's progress. Like that is the
Exactly.
progress, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be wherever you're at with it. So I love that philosophy. And then you finish the intro off with a bit called meal prep smarter, not
Mhm.
harder. So tell us what you mean by that. How can we meal prep smarter and not harder?
Yeah. So I think sometimes when we think about meal prep, we think of kind of like the classic idea of meal prep where it's like you maybe choose like two or three recipes, like maybe you meal prep a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but you kind of like prep the same thing multiple days in a week. So it's like you eat the same thing morning, noon, and night for at least 5 or 6 days. And then you're just like tired of it. You maybe throw out like some of the food after day two, or maybe it like
Uh-huh.
sits and turns into a science experiment in your refrigerator.
Mhm.
And I never really vibed with that. Like, I very much like variety when it comes to my food. So I oftentimes will recommend people to like ingredient prep and kind of do it based on what you're most comfortable with. So, like, for example, if you feel like a barrier for you when it comes to making meals during the week is, not having your proteins ready. It could be even as simple as, all right, well, at least just get all the beans out of the can, like rinse them really well, put them in a Tupperware container so that way they're just ready to go. You can throw them into a meal instead of having to take out the colander, drain everything. It helps save time. Or even when it comes to tofu, it could be maybe you press it ahead of time and you start it marinating ahead of the week. So that way, when it comes to Tuesday, you're like, all right, I have my tofu. All I have to do is cook it now. I don't have to mess around with pressing it, which can take time, and then having to, cook it. Like, all of that can kind of create barriers for people wanting to actually make themselves a healthy meal. Um, Simple things like that can make a huge difference when it comes to meal prep compared to like the traditional meal prep where it's like you have to have, everything already cooked and
Mhm.
then you're reheating it and it's just not the same as like cooking it fresh on
Yeah.
that first day. So
Yeah.
I feel like that helps a lot. A lot of times I'll even just like dice up all the greens that I'm going to be using for the week. And then that way, if I want to make a salad or a stir fry, all I have to do is just pull out the ingredients that I want and they're ready to go. And you don't have to do anything else.
Yeah, I love that. I'm feeling a little attacked because I do have a meal prep container sitting in my fridge that's been there for about 2 weeks, and I'm like, and it's because I got sick of it. I was like, I don't want to eat that anymore, And every day I'm like, oh yeah, I can eat that today. And now I'm
Yeah,
like, well, now the time has passed. It is a science experiment, as the great
exactly.
Catherine Perez said.
Yeah.
So looking at me.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so we're getting into our first food section here. Chapter 1, breaking the fast. That's
Yes.
breakfast, my friends. So oh, what's a go? And when we say breaking the fast, we're talking about from sleeping to breakfast time, right? That's like our
Yes.
fasting time where our body's resting, doing its work, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was very contradictory what I said. It's
No,
resting, but
it's
it's
like,
doing the work. But it is, right?
yeah, like you're restoring your body, you're getting
Yeah.
ready to start the day. So, there needs to be that buffer time that you give
Yes.
your stomach a break. You kind of
Yes.
give your mind a break and you're just like prepping yourself to kind of take on the next day.
Are there any, what's a go-to breakfast for you in the breaking the fast chapter?
All right. So I have a couple, but I would say I'm very much a sweet breakfast person. Like, that's always my go-to.
Mm,
So right now I kind of rotate between doing chia pudding. So I have my matcha raspberry chia pudding, and that
yeah.
I love matcha. Like, if people follow me, they know that like at least once a week I'm sharing a matcha like in my stories. But I feel like it has like so many antioxidants. Plus, adding that with the raspberries just kind of helps add an extra boost. And then, mixing it with the chia seeds, you're getting like a lot of healthy fats, you're getting your omega 3s. And I don't know, it just like sticks, to my stomach a little bit longer
Mhm.
than a lot of other like sweeter breakfast options. So I like having something that's going to like last me for a couple hours until the next meal. So I'm not just like thinking about just eating, the whole
Yeah, for
day.
sure. Especially with breakfast, I feel like that's one where I'm like,
Yes.
if I don't choose correctly, suddenly I'm hungry like an hour later and I'm like, oh, I don't want to like ruin my whole day. Like that's all I'm thinking about in the morning. I'm like, what
Mhm.
can I eat to set myself up well for the day? And that
Yes.
was a sweet in the chapter. What's a savory that you like in the chapter?
So I have a, a tofu salad, like an egg salad type option,
Nice.
which is really good. And I serve it on toast, and oftentimes I'll serve it with pesto. So you'll see, like in the cookbook, it's like paired with the charred scallion pesto.
Okay.
I really like that. It's like a nice, you get a little bit of tang, from the pesto, and then it pairs really well with the egg salad component. So it's just really good. I love it. It's like packed with protein, which is good. I like to serve it on sourdough bread for the extra like gut health benefits. So it's just, a really good balanced meal that really does kind of stick with you for a bunch of hours. So if you feel like you're more in the savory category,
Mm-hmm.
the breakfast chapter will cover you for the savory stuff
I
too.
love it. I love both. I'm into the sweet and the savory. You start us off with smoothies too. You have quite a few smoothies in here. We have a blueberry muffin smoothie, a
Oh,
zesty
yes.
mango lime smoothie, salted tahini date smoothie. I want to hang up and make that right now. And a creamy chocolate cardamom smoothie. All sound delicious. Overnight oats four-way, smoky maple tempeh hash, sweet potato boats, breakfast tostadas, peach upside down, baked oatmeal, so many great things in the breaking the fast chapter. And chapter 2 is going to take us to satisfying salads. Great options in here like spicy peanut shaved Brussels sprout salad.
Yes,
Oh
that's a
my
favorite.
gosh. Charred poblano corn salad, seared lemon chickpea salad, smashed cucumber kimchi edamame salad, and creamy lemon miso chopped kale salad all sound so good. What's an irresistible salad in here that anyone will love, Catherine?
The shaved Brussels sprout salad with the peanut
Mm,
sauce, like, honestly, that's probably one of my favorites outside of the kimchi one because I just love kind of um like those types of flavors that are like
yeah.
very umami packed.
Yep.
So for me, anytime there's like a creamy dressing, I'm always down for that. And it pairs really well with like the charred Brussels sprouts. And, since we are kind of in that season for Brussels sprouts now, like
I
it's
just
just,
bought some. Hmm.
yeah. I feel like you roast it. I feel like a lot of salads, or whenever someone's thinking of salad, you're thinking of it like raw, like
Yeah.
iceberg lettuce with like a few cherry tomatoes. But I feel like that one's like really hearty because you kind of get the feel that you're eating a full meal because like you get some warm vegetables in there.
Yeah.
You still get a creamy dressing. It's just really a really tasty dish.
I love it. And listeners, if you're struggling with Brussels sprouts at all, though they've had their moment, and I think a lot of more people like them now, shaved Brussels sprouts are like the way to go with that because I like a roasted Brussels sprout that's been like cut in half and like it's good. But
Yeah.
when they're shaved, I don't know. There's something about it to me where it's just so much more tastier to me, like in texture and like mouthfeel and everything. I really enjoy it.
Yes. They get like
Uh,
very caramelized, which is
yeah, and you like crisp
really
up the edges maybe a little bit too on those little shreds or little shavings of them. You got a marinated sumac onion and lentil salad, roasted cruciferous crunch salad, all the good goods in that, pistachio lime corn orzo salad, and smoky roasted sweet potato quinoa salad. Such good items in there. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a salad chapter that has made me more excited than this one. And you're so right about a creamy dressing, not only a creamy dressing, but a spicy peanut. I just looked at that
uh,
shaved
yeah.
Brussels sprout salad again. Any peanut dressing, I'm on board with.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Chapter 3 is grab it and go. We all love some grab and goes. So someone gets this book right now.
Mhm.
Millions of people have it already because hello, New York Times
Yeah.
bestseller. But someone's listening to us. They grab this book, they order it right now. It comes in the mail. What's the first thing someone should make from the grab it and go chapter?
Ooh, so I have a couple of like salad jars inside of there, and
Nice.
probably, so two of my favorites. One you'll see as like in an actual salad jar, which is an udon noodle. It's a sesame udon noodle. So like the dressing, we actually pack in the bottom of the of the
Great.
recipe, like in the jar, and then that way it doesn't make all of the like delicate veggies on the top like all soggy. So you end up having the dressing on the bottom, you get the noodles, you get some of the crunchy veggies, and then you get the delicate kind of like veggies on top. So when you dump out your salad, it gets coated in the dressing. It's really a nice, another creamy kind of dressing. I have a lot of sauces in the book, so it's like,
As you should. I'm all about a sauce.
yes. So that's one favorite. And then I have one that I actually made a lot when I was working full time and then going to school full time. So I would bring the salad with me like all the time. It's my pico de gallo salad or a quinoa bowl. And it's really great because like what I would do a lot in the past was like I would order some packets of like pre-cooked quinoa, so like I didn't have to cook it myself,
Yeah.
and then I would mix that with some black beans and pico de gallo, and it always came out really really good. And it was like so simple, but it was like really cheap. Like I would get all the ingredients from Trader Joe's, and like it would come together really fast. So this is kind of like my grown-up version of it, where it's like
Which one is that in here? Which title is that?
it should be the pico de gallo quinoa salad.
Is it? I'm not seeing it in here.
It
I want to
should.
make sure. Oh, it's in the
Yes.
bowls
Okay, yeah.
chapter. There we go. Good, good, good. It's literally the first one in the
Yes.
following chapter. So we're still
Oh,
on.
sorry.
We're
I might have
wide
jumped
on
ahead.
track. That's perfect. That's good, good, good.
Oh,
I was
good.
just sad. I was like, wait, I want to have that. Where is it?
You know, I think I confuse that because like oftentimes I would also take that as a grab and go. And I think I have
Totally.
instructions in the book where it's like
On
I
how
tell you
to.
how to build it
Of
as like
course.
one of those jar salads.
Of course, of course. And we're going to get right into those nourishing bowls right after I tell you just a few more. I don't want to miss the
Yeah.
great ones in this grab and
Yeah.
go. We got a kale Caesar salad wrap here, smoky chipotle tofu wrap, peanut miso chickpea salad sandwich, kimchi noodle soup jar, herby cauliflower stuffed pita, chopped veggie tzatziki jar, and a spicy tunaless salad sandwich, which brings us to our nourishing bowls chapter with that great pico de gallo bowl right on top. So everybody, you can get into it. And I see these 20-minute cilantro lime noodles in here.
Yes.
Now, cilantro is a polarizing herb. It takes center
I
stage
know.
here. I don't care. I love it. I want it. Tell me about these noodles.
So this kind of actually originally wasn't going to be in the cookbook, but I was making it quite often on the nights when I was actually testing recipes for the cookbook. And I think I made it once and I was like, ooh, these are actually really good. And I was like, I think I could like tweak like one or two recipes for or ingredients for this. And so I kept tweaking it little by little every night. And then like I had it one night and I was like, this has to go in the book. Like I've been making it so often. And I loved it because especially after a long day of like cooking stuff for my blog and then also coming up with recipes for the book, I was like tired and like didn't want to kind of like mess around with too much more. So it's like a
Yeah.
very easy, comes together really quick because like the sauce is really fast. There's not a lot of chopping, which is nice. And I feel like a lot of people, you know, will prefer recipes, you know, where you don't have to like do as much in the kitchen to kind of get it prepped. And then because it's noodles, it just like comes together really easily in the pan. And for the protein, we add a bunch of edamame. So that way,
Mm,
you know, you get some protein in there. And, you know, that protein is delicious because it's getting coated in that cilantro lime sauce.
mm.
It's really good. Like right balance of tang. You get a lot of freshness. And it kind of, you know, if you think about like a lot of traditional noodle dishes, like a lot of them can often feel heavy,
Sure.
but because you're adding like that extra freshness to it, I feel like it makes that dish feel lighter, you know, very satisfying at the same time.
I love it. We got that pico de gallo bowl, then in the 20-minute cilantro lime noodles. There's quite a few nourishing bowls. Do you have another favorite if you had a runner up in here?
Ooh, um, hmm. I feel like the nourishing bowl section was like one of my favorite sections
Yeah, that makes
overall. So it's
sense.
hard to choose a favorite outside of the pico bowl.
It's so good because you can put everything into a bowl, right? You
Yes.
have all these like great things.
Yes, I will say the sweet potato bowl with
Mhm.
because like I use a lot of smoked paprika in that, and then it comes with like a really creamy yogurt sauce to pair everything with.
Nice.
And it was just that one's also a favorite because I also really love roasted sweet potatoes. So that
Nice.
one is another favorite.
Oh, I love it. Such great stuff. Creamy miso noodle bowl, baked hummus pasta. Yes, baked hummus pasta.
Yeah.
We got the Thai red curry tofu, and I don't know how to say moro de.
Oh, moro de habichuelas.
Will you tell me what that is?
Yeah, so it's actually a Dominican staple for a lot of us. It's pretty much a rice and beans dish,
Great.
which I feel like is pretty much like if you're familiar with like Dominican or Puerto Rican cuisine, there's a lot of rice and beans dishes that are like a staple in our cuisine.
Yeah.
And when it comes to moro, moro is kind of like a combination of the rice and beans together. So you get a lot of these spices like adobo and sazon inside
Mm.
of like the base of the rice. And that kind of gives it its color. So it's like a very vibrant color, which is really nice. And then it gets mixed with the beans. And in this case, like you can do a lot of different beans. Like you'll also see traditionally like it prepared with gandules, which are like green pigeon peas,
Okay.
and it gets mixed in with the rice. But for this, I used something that might be available for like a lot more people. So if you don't have gandules in your supermarket, like you can use pinto beans, you can use red kidney beans, black beans. There's like a lot of variations of it, but a lot of the seasoning base is very similar. So you simmer everything together and the rice absorbs all of that yummy flavor and you end up with, probably one of my favorite dishes growing up.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And I love too that you're giving people freedom in here. You say, if you want to use pinto beans, if that's what you have. I feel like you're fairly flexible in what you've
Yes.
created. Like again, we're vibing same level here because it's like if you got it and that's what you have instead of going to the store, but you've got something somewhat similar, then use that instead. Let's not. I do it all the time. I'm trying to always use everything I have, and it's as creators, it's a little more complicated because I'm sure you've had moments where you're like. I want to make this thing and see if it works. And you're like, you have to go to the store. But like, I am trying to like use what's in the back of the cupboard there and everything as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like there has to be kind of like a balance of flexibility when it comes to recipes. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to make something if I have the option to kind of change something up easily. And, I don't want to be pigeonholed too much into a
Yeah.
recipe.
Yeah, absolutely. A few more shout outs before we move on. Scallion ginger lentil fried rice. Get
Oh,
into
yes, that
it.
one's
Oh,
another favorite. I feel like, when it comes to that recipe, I very much had like growing up because like I wasn't cooking all the time,
yeah.
like very into like takeout, and that kind of like the flavors from that remind me of like, you know, fried rice, from a
Absolutely.
restaurant. And it just has that like little difference of having the lentils in there for extra
Mm-hmm.
protein and fiber, which is really
Mm-hmm.
yummy.
Yeah, I'm into it for sure. We got tomato beans with lemony panko crumbs, peanut harissa stew, and brothy beans and greens. All that good stuff is in our nourishing bowls chapter, which takes us into chapter 5, nutrient packed mains. So, nutrient packed mains, what is a crowd pleaser in this chapter? Something you can serve to your dinner guests that will be a surefire hit.
Yeah, so if I am serving anything to like my crowd, like anyone, it would probably be the seitan skewers, the lemongrass seitan skewers.
Mm.
They are so good. And I feel like sometimes when you think about plant-based recipes, or at least like from some people that I know that are not like vegan, you often will get like that expectation of like, oh, this is not going to be filling, it's not going to be very protein packed, it's not going to have a lot of flavor. And I feel like this recipe kind of like dispels that myth very easily for
Hmm.
me, because it has like that really nice like chewy, meaty kind of like texture that I think a lot of people often want when it comes to some plant-based recipes, where it's like, we're not just looking for flavor sometimes. Like sometimes it's also the experience of the chew, because like that really helps impact, someone's meal satisfaction. And so, like, being able to provide like different elements within a meal that help to kind of satisfy that chew, give you kind of like the flavors that you're looking for, those, umami notes that you might have grown up with, I feel like makes a big difference in terms of like, how you enjoy this type of lifestyle moving forward. So, I try to kind of like pack it into that meal to kind of give those people the understanding of like, oh, this is what we mean by kind of like really packing in the flavor and like
Yeah.
those textures in the right way.
Yeah, that's so true. People do get from the texture and everything. It's like we want to get it right off the bat for people who are just trying it so that they're like, "Oh wait, this is good."
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Lots of other great things here. Different ways to make tofu. So you're giving people a
Yeah.
how-to guide on tofu, crispy baked tofu, tofu tandoori, chili miso, tofu marinade, lots of great stuff. Sticky ginger tofu meatballs, tofu tinga tacos, crispy buffalo white bean tacos, caramelized onion butter beans, sweet chili peanut tempeh, everybody. I'll say it again. Sweet chili peanut tempeh.
Oh,
Also a sweet and sour tofu. I love all these tofu variations in here. High protein red lentil falafel, teriyaki chickpea burgers, and charred scallion pesto baked gnocchi. I'm here for all of that. I think all of those would be a home run at a dinner party. So the
yes.
difficulty may be choosing which one, but I think everybody listening, start with the grilled lemongrass skewers, seitan skewers, and go from there. This takes us into elevated veggies.
Mhm.
So I what's your favorite vegetable and what recipe showcases it in here?
Oh, that one's very easy. So I know we already mentioned this already. So like Brussels sprouts are probably like one of my favorite
Okay.
veggies.
Okay.
And we already have them in the Brussels sprout salad from earlier. And I have a miso orange Brussels sprout, like braised Brussels sprouts, and they're just, if you're a Brussels sprout hater, I'm telling you to just try that recipe
You're like,
first.
this is it. This is it.
And then I know it will convince you that, if there's a vegetable that you dislike, that there's probably a way that you can flavor it and, cook it to make it something that you like.
Nice.
I think it's like the biggest thing that I oftentimes tell people, like whenever I hear someone say like, "Oh, I hate this vegetable," I'm like, have you tried it this way? Because like there's probably thousands of ways that you could, enjoy that vegetable. And I feel like once you discover what that vegetable is, it just, or how to cook that vegetable, it just makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have, so I used to open my cooking classes with like, I'll do like a, when there's time, I do like an around the room, like name game, like let's get to know each other. And the question I always used to ask is, what would you steal from someone's home to inconvenience them? And usually it's toilet paper or phone chargers, stuff like that. But now I've moved on to asking people, and I just did this last weekend in my cooking class, what is your least favorite vegetable? Because it starts to connect people across the room and also start like these conversations of like, oh, but you haven't tried it this way. So it's like before I even start cooking with them, they're talking about food and they're talking about why they like one thing and trying to convince somebody to like broccoli and try this recipe. It's been really fun. Now, do you have a least favorite vegetable, and have you found love for it in some way, and have you featured it in this chapter by any chance?
Ooh, okay. So I will say probably one of my least favorite vegetables was beets for a very long
Mm,
time.
I get that.
And so, it was mostly because like I feel like when I would have beets, it was, you know, you I would just roast the whole thing in the oven and not do anything to it. And I was expecting it to be something, like I guess you see it in so many different recipes, like it's very
Yeah.
colorful and pretty. And then like I would cook it at home and I'm like, what the heck is this? Or,
Yeah.
classically like you would see like canned beets, and that was just like that not
Yep.
always my favorite either. So it took me a really long time to realize like the ways that I did enjoy beets. And I feel like when I paired it with like the sumac and the onions from that sumac beet salad
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
I feel like that really changed my opinion on
Mm.
beets a lot. Like it was so funny because like I tried that recipe just on a whim because I was like, I feel like you add marinated onions to anything, and I feel like it just makes everything better.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
I paired it with the beets and I kind of like just let it mellow out in the fridge for a while. And I took a bite of it and I was just like, oh my God, like this is the best thing. And I was just like, I was, like, making that and, like, eating it as I'm, like, making another recipe, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
stop eating it. I was like, "Wow, I didn't think I was actually gonna like beets this much because of this." But it really changed my opinion of them and really made me love them a lot more.
I love that. It's interesting. And I, it's all the cooking you do when you're making a cookbook. You know when you like can't stop eating. When you're like, "Ooh, I want more of that." You're like,
Yes.
"Oh, this one's a really good one because I have 6 recipes sitting around me right now, and I keep going towards this one right here."
Yeah.
Uh, my least favorite vegetable is eggplant. Always has been, but I'm always open to giving it a shot, and it has surprised me on a couple occasions now. And this roasted peanut miso eggplant
Yeah.
here might change my mind a bit. So can you tell me about this roasted peanut miso eggplant recipe?
Yes. So this is actually inspired by some preparations that I've seen and had of eggplant at Japanese restaurants. So a big thing with eggplant is I feel like it can be a very rubbery mess if you don't treat it appropriately. And I feel like
Mhm.
sometimes if it does get into that rubbery consistency, a lot of times like the flavor can be off for a lot of people. So this recipe kind of takes care of both of those elements. So I feel like big tip that I have for people with eggplant is to actually gravitate towards eggplant that are smaller in size because the bigger ones tend to be more bitter. A lot of times you can
Oh.
actually like, there's a lot of seeds in the bigger ones, and those
Uh-huh.
seeds actually make the eggplant a lot more bitter in, taste.
All right.
So, that's, like, one tip is get smaller ones. Preferably, if you can find, like, Chinese eggplant or Japanese eggplant, like, those tend to be really small, and they tend to have the best flavor. And then the second tip is to soak it in salt water because that
Mhm.
takes the bitterness out. So if you soak it in salt water, you can kind of score it, like score the flesh after you cut it in half. Soak that in the salt water. It removes a lot of that bitterness. And then, pat it dry. And then you can go ahead and glaze it in whatever flavor you want. And it helps to kind of just like accept more flavor into it as it's roasting and just makes it way more enjoyable, in terms of eating.
I love that. Lots of great tips for eggplant. Lots of other great ways to elevate your veggies in here. We got bang bang cauliflower,
Mhm.
gochujang stir-fried green beans, eat the rainbow veggie pancakes. Yes, yes, yes. I love a veggie
Yes.
pancake. Braised orange ginger Brussels sprouts. Are those the ones you talked about? Right?
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yes.
the yeah. Easy no mayo slaw, and we got seared asparagus with pistachio coconut relish. There's a za'atar roasted acorn squash wedges, grilled maple Dijon lettuce, sweet potato flatbread, and how to make frozen veggies taste amazing. Oh, that's great. What
Yeah.
are some tips for that? And pickled vegetables in here. I want to mention
Yes.
that. But what are some tips on making your frozen veggies taste amazing?
Okay. So after experimenting with frozen veggies a lot, my biggest tip is whenever you get frozen veggies, first check the size of the veggies because like some bags you'll get ones where it's like a mix of different veggies and like you'll get like that random like really large piece of broccoli that's
Yeah,
like
or cauliflower. I was thinking that too. One of the
yeah,
cruciferous ones. It's always this
yeah.
big, like bulky thing.
Yeah, I actually recommend if you can, to get like individual bags of those vegetables. So like if you're getting broccoli, go for like broccoli florets. If you get cauliflower, just go for like the cauliflower. Because generally like those will always be like in the same size variety. So it just makes
Hmm.
it easier to cook those. Um, but when you get them frozen, you can just put them straight into a dry pan. Don't add anything to it and just cook off the water. Like you just want to cook it off until it starts kind of like browning and caramelizing on the bottom. And then you can flip it, cook it on the other side just to make sure that all that water is cooked off. Then you can add your oil, you can add like, seasonings, whatever you want after that point. Because when you cook off the water, there is like you're kind of like shrinking down that vegetable, but you're also improving the taste and texture. You're not just going to get like a
Mhm.
watery, veggie at the end. And you're able to better control like the browning of that vegetable. And I feel like when you're able to brown a vegetable appropriately, kind of makes it taste a lot better. So I feel like those elements really help. And then adding, all the other, spices and things like that afterwards really helps with further kind of enhancing that vegetable at the end. So, if people are struggling and, I know frozen veggies are a lot cheaper to
Yeah.
use. They're very convenient because you don't have to wash or prep them. This is one way that I found outside of just like steaming them that
Mhm.
actually retains the texture better and also has like a lot more depth of flavor.
That's such a smart tip. I went down a rabbit hole meal prepping specifically with
Mhm.
vegetables like 2 years ago, and I did it for a little bit, but what I found was, we've already had the conversation about the meal prep is sitting in your fridge and you don't eat it, but like with frozen vegetables,
Mhm.
even less appealing, right? And one of the
Yeah.
reasons is because they get waterlogged like that from being frozen.
Mhm.
So I didn't even think about cooking the water content off first. You're brilliant. Look at that. New York Times bestseller. Here
Thank
we
you.
go. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, this moves us into snacks and sweets. And
Oh,
is it weird that I want to make these wholesome date and pistachio cookies for Christmas? Is my
no,
question.
I feel like they're the perfect holiday treat.
It's giving me holiday vibes.
Yes, I feel like because like all the spices and, if you're
Mm-hmm.
familiar with a lot of like the spices that are used in holiday cookies, I feel like that one kind of encompasses all of that. And it's
Yeah.
also obviously sweet because of the dates. So it's like perfect combo.
Yeah, for sure. It's giving me that holiday goodness. And this lemon blueberry swirl loaf, oh, might
Yes.
become my summer go-to. But there's also the chickpea cookie dough bars that can't be
Yeah.
ignored. But what satiates your sweet tooth the most in this chapter?
Ooh, that is a good question. I would say the one that I probably like make the most would be like the cinnamon swirl muffins because like they're
Oh,
easy to just like make a big batch of, and then I will often put them in the freezer, and like when my sweet tooth kind of hits, I'll just like grab one out of the fridge or the freezer and like let it thaw out a little bit, and then sometimes I'll just like pop it in toast in the toaster oven just to like warm up a little bit, and it's
yes.
just
They look so good. I'm showing
that.
everybody if anyone's watching, if you're watching, you can see it. If you're
Yes,
listening, it's on page 180. These delicious cinnamon swirl
yes.
banana nut muffins. Freezing muffins, let's just say that to everyone. Freeze your muffins. If you're making it's just me and my husband. I love muffins. I rarely make them because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have all these muffins. But when I
Mhm.
do, we always, have like one or two in a few days, like one or two per person in a few days time, and then I'm like, oh, I freeze the rest. And it's so great, like you're saying, when you have that, like, oh, I want a muffin, you don't have to make a whole pan. Then you've got some just, and things that you freeze like that, everyone, they don't take time to thaw, like much
No,
time to thaw. You can literally like set it out first thing in the morning, go about your morning routine, you come back to it, it'll most likely be thawed out and you'll be
yeah,
good to go. So
true.
many great, I have such a big sweet tooth and I love this chapter so much. Coconut lime energy bites. We've
Yeah.
got single serve chocolate chip cookies. I love it again with a single serve situation. Not again, but I mean, we just talked about freezing muffins and now we've got a single serve chocolate chip cookie situation. Are we just baking one cookie?
So technically it serves two cookies, but
Great.
but this is the reason for it because like oftentimes whenever I make a batch of cookies, I often tell myself like, yes, I'm just gonna have one cookie, and then it ends up the serving really is two cookies. So, so I feel like it kind of gives you that leeway and that option too. If you want to have just the two cookies, you can save one for tomorrow if you want it. But if you feel like the real serving is two cookies, then you can have it,
The
and
real
no one
serving
will
is two
judge
cookies. Let's
you.
be honest. The real serving is two cookies. I suppose if somebody wants to share, they can share. That's
Yeah, like
fine.
if you have your you can always share it with your partner, right? If you
Sure,
want to.
sure. If you want to,
If
if
you
you
want
want
to.
to. Oh my goodness. Great things in here. Chocolate lemon mousse. Oh, yummy,
Yes,
yummy, yummy.
that one's
Uh
really good.
I love a mousse and just chocolate lemon. I love citrus and chocolate together. So good.
Mhm.
Uh baked plantanos maduros. Tell me about those, please.
Yeah, so plátanos are just like they're plantains, and there's two varieties. You get like the starchy one, which often get like fried into like little chips, and then you get the maduros, which are like the sweet variety of plantains. And so you can cut them up, and traditionally they're fried, but I feel like I personally really like them baked, and I feel like I'll use them way more often because I do not like frying things.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of just like, you know, concerns of over frying, especially for health. Like we don't want to be
Sure.
frying, excessively. Um, I feel like this gives an option for, more everyday use so you can enjoy it. Still sweet if you use the right variety, which is like the kind of like the skin will be like yellow black, close to black. It might look like it's very overripe or like you need to be tossing those plantains in the trash, but that actually is better because like a lot of the natural sugars inside of the plantains come out, and they actually caramelize a lot easier in the oven. So it gets very close to what
Mm,
you would typically get if you were frying them anyway. So that's kind of like been my trick for enjoying that on the healthier side,
nice.
without all the excess of oils and things like that.
That's great. We all need those healthier alternatives, and this book is full of great education like that and alternatives for people. And this takes us into the chapter of all chapters, sauceology.
Yes.
We're a saucy family, so I loved what you were saying about sauce, and I love that you're saying here about standing by the fact that if you have 1 to 2 really good sauces in your fridge, you can build an incredible meal with minimal effort. And I absolutely agree.
Mhm.
So, what are some of the sauce recipes in this chapter that we might find in steady rotation in your fridge?
Yeah, so I feel like there's always 3 different types of sauces, like, rotating. Um, at least 1 tahini sauce, and I have
Mhm.
4 different varieties inside of the cookbook. I have, the peanut sauce, which we talked about earlier. I really like mine, to have like a lot of spice to mine. So like I, will add either sriracha or a little chili oil to it just to kind of like get some extra spice because I feel like
Mhm.
anything spicy is always my jam. And then I have an everything sauce. And the reason I call it everything sauce is because I feel like it's really good on just about everything. So, like, it's kind of like my go to sauce when I'm building a bowl or salad or like even some of the breakfast items. I will whip that up and put it in one of my jars and I'll just like toss it on top of, whatever I'm eating. And it just always goes well with, pretty much anything that I'm planning to have for the week. It's not it has like a lot of spice to it because there's jalapenos, but there's like herbs and it's good for people that are not like super into cilantro. Like there's parsley and things like that in there, which is
Yeah.
good. But if you do want to kind of change it up, you can also use cilantro for my cilantro lovers. Um,
I was gonna
but
say, I was looking at it, there's lots of like really great healthful ingredients in it. It looks very easy to make too.
yes. Yeah, just pretty much if you have a blender cup, you can also do it with an immersion blender, like just
Nice.
blend it until it's nice and smooth and you can start, dunking, pouring, doing whatever you need
On
to do.
everything.
Yes, everything.
Everything ultimately. I love it. So many great choices. I have my eye on the mango cilantro dressing and also the
Mhm.
lemon blueberry chia jam here
Yeah.
for that. And you close the book out with a guide to cooking grains and legumes and some meal plans that allow the home cook to put all of this into practice with some easy menu suggestions. And my friends, that closes out Peaceful Kitchen, more than 100 cozy plant based recipes to comfort the body and nourish the soul. And now I ask you, Catherine, what is your book brag? Something you are most proud of when it comes to this book?
Yeah, I think the thing I'm most proud about when it comes to this book is that um, pretty much the main goal that I wanted for this book was to not just like share like fun, flavorful recipes, but I also wanted to kind of embed what I learned nutrition wise into each recipe. And so, when I was selecting and deciding on the recipes for this book, I really wanted to design these recipes to kind of highlight what I believe in terms of, a balanced meal, and that's making sure you're getting all the appropriate nutrients, being mindful of like different cooking techniques to really help amplify like the nutrients of that meal. So whether it's, hey, you might see a recipe that has beans and peppers together, and like the main reason for doing that is because like you're getting more iron absorption because you're incorporating that with some vitamin C. So there's like a lot of things that maybe you don't even think about that I might mention in the book. So if you don't read all the little like tabs and tips that are inside of the cookbook, that's okay, because like I built all those tips into the recipes
Yes.
themselves. And so that way, I'm hoping that, it kind of gives comfort to people when they're making their meal selections, that, I got their back so they don't have to think too hard on it. And, you're still going to get a nourishing meal, even if you don't want to like listen to all of the science mumbo jumbo that's, sprinkled in everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, I'm so happy for you. And I'm so happy you've put this book into the world. Congratulations. And hey, are you ready for your rapid fire round of questions?
I've been waiting all day. So.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, here we go. Number one, karaoke night or silent disco?
Ooh, karaoke night for sure.
Eating cake with a fork or a spoon?
Spoon.
All
I'm a spoon
right.
girl. Yeah.
First, I thought maybe that was a weird question. Then I was like, no, I'm actually
No.
curious.
Yep.
Road trip with friends or solo flight to a dream destination?
Ooh, I'm gonna say friends.
All
Going
right.
with friends. Yeah. I had to think
There's
about
a
that.
hesitant moment there, but I feel you. Okay.
Yes.
Tiny house or tree house?
Tiny house.
Always early or fashionably late?
Fashionably late.
Atta girl. Live without music or live without movies?
Live without movies. Have to
There
have
you go.
music for
Have
sure.
to have music,
Yeah,
especially writing these delicious recipes. You have to.
exactly. Yes.
Haunted house or romantic comedy marathon?
Ooh.
I know it doesn't really, it's not a this or that really, but I almost feel
Yeah.
like that's what's interesting,
If
right?
it's like the 2000s like rom-coms, I'm like down
Let's say
for
that. Yeah. Okay, great. All right. So we're going rom-com
You mean like
marathon.
27 dresses? I'm
Yes.
like
Yes, yes, yes. Yep, yep. Okay. Never-ending pasta bowl or never-ending taco bar?
Taco bar, hands down.
Sneezing. Yeah, I mean, hey. It's hard, but also I feel like taco bar, hands down.
Yeah.
Sneezing glitter or crying confetti?
I will say crying confetti.
I don't know what yeah, I think yeah. Sweet or salty?
Ooh, sweet, sweet.
Living in a cozy cabin in the woods or a sleek apartment in the city?
Sleek apartment in the city.
Nice.
Yeah,
Always perfectly dressed or always perfectly on time?
probably perfectly on time. If I could.
Making up for before is what
Yes,
we're doing,
yes.
right? Yeah,
I
yeah,
would
yeah,
like to be that.
yeah. Be able to control the weather or be able to control time?
Weather.
All right. And I'm giving you a bonus today on a level from 1 to 10. What's your spicy level? The waiter comes up, says, how would you like it? 1 to 10, spicy.
It's got to be a 10. Like
There
if
we go.
usually it's like, oh, okay, I know that this is the restaurant spice, but like what's your spice?
You're like,
Like
can
what's
you just kick it up a notch? Yeah, I
gotta,
wondered. You
yeah,
said spicy. I was like, she's getting a bonus
yeah.
question
It's
today.
got to
Then.
make me cry or else it's just not worth it. So.
There you go. There you go. That's Catherine with a 10 for you. Okay. So please tell everyone where they can find you on social media and the internet.
Yeah, so you can find me under plant-based RD on TikTok, on Instagram, also now on YouTube. And you can also find me on my blog, plantbasedrdblog.com. And yeah, hopefully I'll be able to expand to other social platforms soon too. I'm going to be exploring that in the new year. But yeah, hopefully everything will be under plant-based RD unless it's taken.
Awesome. Well, you're finding the way though. I love plant-based RD blog. I think that's great, and then people know exactly what it is too.
Exactly. Yeah.
And of course, everyone, you must go buy a copy of the New York Times bestseller, Peaceful Kitchen, more than 100 cozy plant-based recipes to comfort the body and nourish the soul everywhere books are sold. Catherine, you're an absolute joy. Thank you so much for making the world of nutrition much, much more digestible and delicious for all of us. And I appreciate you taking the time to be here today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's always a joy to talk nutrition and food. So, really appreciate the time today.
Thank you so much for listening. We'd be so grateful if you would rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. It really does help us.
Yes, thank you so much. And don't forget to check out keeponcookin.com for all of the latest in recipes and Keep On Cooking updates. This has been a Muzzy Cat production.